Будемо починати вже зараз.
Добрий день, я вітаю всіх.
Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody who joined us. My name is Olava Tamanova and Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform continues its operation today. Today, many of our briefings were devoted to the massive missile strike inflicted in the night by the occupiers, and now we will be talking about the consequences of this massive strike in Zhytomyr region. Joining us online is Serhiy Sukhomlin, the mayor of Zhytomyr. Good afternoon, Mr. Serhiy. Good afternoon, Mr. Serhiy. What are the consequences that you document for Zhytomyr of this massive strike inflicted by Russians? What is the situation in the city? What's going on with the critical infrastructure facilities? The strike was inflicted this night. The enemy attacked the energy infrastructure of Zhytomyr. The scale of the consequences are quite complicated for Zhytomyr because people were not having water in their taps in the morning. The Vodokanal facilities were damaged, and we started reconnecting just a number of facilities in residential areas recently. For the time being, about 50% of Zhytomyr is without electric power supply, and I think that within the next hour there will be another shutdown for the whole city. A part of the critical infrastructure facilities were already reconnected to generators. I mean the Vodokanal edge facilities, the water and heating supply facilities. This is how we try to stabilize this situation. The electric transport does not operate in the city. We added more buses on the roads. They're still not sufficient, but we understand that we have to ensure the comfort for the people to the maximum extent possible. So this is the situation. Mr. Serhiy, were there any casualties in civil population? Well, thanks God, this is the only fortunate news that this attack did not result in any human casualties. As to the destruction of the residential areas, private buildings, was there any destruction of that type? Well, I can say thanks God, or maybe better, we would have downed the drone, but there were no destruction of the residential areas or apartment blocks. Well, that's good news, but starting from the beginning of the full-scale invasion, what's the situation in Zhytomyr? I mean, the overall situation. Well, talking about the beginning of the war, the peak was in the end of February, March, when there were Russian aircraft above Zhytomyr dropping bombs of 250-500 kilograms capacity. They were dropping them on the residential areas, the power infrastructure facilities, the water supply facilities. Then there were missile strikes. There were schools and healthcare facilities destroyed. Lately, there were missile strikes on the electric power infrastructure. However, we treat this situation quite normally, I would say, because thanks to the coordinated and professional work of our electric power technicians, we already have forgotten what is the deficit of electric power, but today we will have to switch to the schedules of rolling power shutdowns. But within this period we became stronger because we have power generators. The biggest one is 1.6 megawatt capacity. That's quite a powerful generator. We have all of them reconnected to our critical infrastructure facilities. We launched a number of boiler rooms. We have a couple of module boiler rooms, so they operate on alternative fuels. We reconnected those boiler rooms so under conditions of deficit, but when the temperature, the weather allows, we can switch the boiler rooms from one district to another, and thus we may reduce the consumption of electric power, which is very, very important now. The city will survive. And today we had a meeting with Vitaly Bunechko present, the director of Ukrinform, and within about 2 weeks at the account of supply of electric power from other regions, the situation should be stabilized. We have questions on the floor. Dear colleagues, please go ahead. Good afternoon. What is the situation with the operation of industrial facilities? Does this attack influence on their work? Until now, until today, everything was fine, and I think that we will have to switch to the rolling power shutdown schedules. We will have a meeting with the representatives of business community, and we will implement the shift schedules. This is how we were doing it like a half year ago. A part of the businesses were working on days off when the consumption of electric power falls, and on the next weekend other businesses would work. So that was the same schedule for the night shifts. When the businesses can operate during nights, they will probably start doing it again, but for the time being we don't understand it completely. Just an hour ago there was a meeting with the head of regional Energo, and we will see what Zhytomyr region will be able to get from other regions in terms of electric power. So only when we have the complete picture, we will be able to work with the representatives on the business on development of such schedules. Thank you for joining us. We see that the regions adapt to current situation, and the main thing is that there were no human casualties this time. Thank you for joining our broadcast, dear colleagues. Joining us was Serhiy Sukhomlin, the mayor of Zhytomyr, and right now our team is preparing the schedule for tomorrow, so bear with us, trust in our armed forces, and glory to Ukraine.